second week in a row that the defense is on the field and wins the game for us. You know, they're coming into their own. You know, once again, the statistics and the numbers are not where you want them to be, but there's more to this game than just numbers. There's a lot of teams with statistics. They're not sitting 2-0 on top of the conference with an opportunity to still win this thing. Okay, and that's all we're asking for is an opportunity. We may not win another game, but doggone it, we won this game, and we need to appreciate a win. It's so hard to come by. And you ask Wisconsin how hard a win is to come by nowadays. And you never know what's going to happen when those young men go out there. They're 18 to 22 years old. They make us have gray hairs. Everybody that's in this business, it's amazing that we stay around. We just don't fall out dead out there in front of everybody. But this is a good, solid win, and those guys are excited in the other room.
Will you talk a little bit about the defense in the third quarter? If you talk about the numbers, the third quarter numbers are as good as it gets for a defense. Was it something that clicked, or what was the key there?
We had a nice little talk at halftime, and you know, those guys have a lot of pride. You're talking about, even though there's a lot of guys hurt, there's a lot of guys that have been around and played good defense before, and it's important to them. I mean, it hurts them. I mean, the stuff they read and all that kind of stuff, it hurts them, but we tell them to stay inside the family because the family is what matters. And I'm just proud of the way they fought. That was a good, solid offensive line, a good running back, and a quarterback that could do some things with the ball. And there's no doubt that the elements affected both offenses and helped both defenses, but you can't take anything away from what our defense did in the third quarter. I just thought it was really, really good.
Kind of looked like late in the third quarter, or fourth quarter, when Buffalo scored that last touchdown, you guys maybe getting a little bit tired, but you're still able to come up, you know, when it mattered.
Well, I called that. Well, that's one of the reasons I called that timeout, is just to let those guys know what's about to happen in this football game. You know, if they get this first down, it's not going to be good for the BG Warriors. It's not going to be. They cannot get this first down. And then, of course, we had the field goal, and I believe the field goal was no good. I can't remember what happened after that. I don't even know if they scored or didn't score. I can't remember. But just that stop on third down, those guys fighting when they're dead tired, was just really, really positive. A really, really positive thing.
Let me refresh you for a second on that third down play. It was Gabe Martin that came in and made a tackle for loss there, and he statistically at least had a big game today. Will you talk a little? You mentioned, I think to a degree, your seniors having pride and stepping up, and that was a guy in particular today looked like he stepped up.
You know, Gabe's made a position change. I mean, he changed positions, and his first opportunity to play the Mike linebacker was at the UMass game. Here's a young man that's been playing a different position his entire career, and now there's 8 to 9 games left in his college career, and you've got some old guy asking him to make a change for the family, and he does it with a smile on his face. And even talking to him last night in front of the team, we were asking each other questions back and forth, because when we talk in front of the entire family. And I asked him a question. He looked dead at me with about 60 guys in the room. He says, "Coach, all I want to do is win. You tell me we're going to win this way, I'm okay with it." And that's Gabe. And I mean, the way he plays, and the way he's been playing that new position, the way he got that interception, I mean, it's classic. The guy is so unselfish. He's exactly what a football coach wants. You can get 105 of those guys, you can beat anybody. And Gabe Martin, he's on the top of my list right now. He's #1.
Coach, you're 2-0 and we play, but at this point in the week, towards the end of the game, you had a 40-yard game, you would have been on the 1. The illegal formation at this time in the season, how do you deal with that kind of stuff? Because that shouldn't happen, because then you get a blocked field goal and it's a wild game from then on.
You know, it's very interesting. The offense, the referee, not the referee, but the linesman said one of our offensive linemen was too far in the backfield, so he threw the flag. We didn't move. He just said we lined up too far in the backfield. So we had been out there, I don't know, 60, 65, 70 snaps, and that's what he said. So it's not a matter of arguing with him. I guess it's a viewpoint. And his viewpoint on that snap was that we were a couple of inches too deep. So he made the call. All calls are good calls, and then we have to find a way to rebound from that. I thought we did a nice job of rebounding.
Speaking of the offense, Roger Lewis came in today, one of the top leaders in the nation in receiving yards, but it was Ronnie Moore who came up big. Was there anything you saw on film as to why he was such a big part of the game plan today?
Ronnie Moore?
Yeah.
Well, more and more people are doing more things to try to stop Roger. I mean, there was parts of that game where he's being double covered. There was parts where they were having linebackers running right for him as soon as he comes off the line of scrimmage. So he's been doing a lot more decoy work for us, so to speak. And what that's doing is that's singling up other wide receivers to be one-on-one, which is allowing the Heath Jacksons, the Ronnie Moores, and Burbs, those guys to make their plays. And then you'll also see that we've been using the running backs more. So it's a very unselfish thing for Roger, and we'll get him back in the fold. We'll come up with some new stuff.
And we've talked a lot about your defense, but you still needed a late score out of your offense. And will you talk about a drive where you cover 80 plays or 80 yards in 4 plays with 2 long passes to Roger Moore?
You know, it's
Ronnie Moore.
Ronnie Moore. He is. I told him, I said, you can drive a man crazy. I mean, he does good, and sometimes he does bad. But for the most part, he's good, and we love the heck out of him. I thought he came up extremely big in the last drive. Once again, they were doing things to take Roger away, and Ronnie's sitting up there, single coverage. And the cool thing is that James found him. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks will try to force that stuff to Roger, and not James. He's just playing the numbers and playing the percentages and pushing that ball out to Ronnie and watching Ronnie make plays. So I was really happy for both of them. And if you watch Roger Lewis on the plays, I mean, he's celebrating as much as anybody. I mean, those guys, that whole group offensively, the offensive line, the backs that block, it buys time for these guys. They're so unselfish, and we're really turning into a family, and when you're a family, you're hard to beat.
Staying with that final TD drive, obviously the offense's MO is fast, but I guess what kind of statement are you sending about the defense, to stand up like they did on that final stand, to, go down and leave, 2 minutes and change left on the clock for them to, obviously when things have kind of been up in your
It was a great question. We were in that drive, and you know how coaches are. They're so positive. Somebody said, "We're moving too fast. We're moving too fast. Oh, we need to slow down." And I said, "We're not slowing down." I said, "We're gonna knock it in, and whatever's left, the defense is going to stop it." And the defense went out there and did exactly that. It's the best way for this football team to win. It's the way that we're going to have the most growth. If we did it a different way, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about our defense. And regardless of popular demand, I realize that somewhere down the road, we're going to need our defense to come up extremely big for more than 1, 2, 3 quarters. We're going to need them to play that game that we're all hoping and waiting for. And it's going to come. And when it's come, it's going to be something big. And when it happens, we're going to be complete. And when this team becomes complete, watch out.
Coach, the offense kind of struggled to score in the latter part of the second half. Can you just talk about a little bit about how they were able to put all that behind them and just on that final drive put it all together and score?
Well, when your back's against the wall, you've got to go. And things change. I mean, the defenses change a little bit. People play a little bit differently. I really thought the weather had a lot to do with the score. I mean, that wind was really blowing. So, that's the hardest I felt it blow so far. So I guess more to come, huh? More to come. Welcome to Bowling Green. So I thought the wind had a lot to do with that stuff. But on the final drive, I thought maybe it died down for us. I don't know, because James really threw some BBs in that last drive. They were exceptional throws that he made to Ronnie Moore.
Can you talk a little bit about how you thought James played today? Obviously, he played well, and he made a few plays with his legs to stretch out.
Well, we knew that they were doing so much double coverage and running guys to our receivers that we had quarterback runs, and we just told James, I said, James, in fact, with 8 minutes left, I said, James, we're going to need your legs. You're going to have to bring your legs into this game, and it's going to be a team win, and you're going to have to do it. We don't like to run our quarterback, but in this situation, to get a MAC win, we had to do that. And James is so unselfish, he didn't think anything of it. He just put his head down and started running forward. I got to teach him how to slide better. He's really bad at sliding.
Did you do different things because of the wind, different play calls, or?
Yeah, most people won't notice it, but we played a little bit differently. It was a tough crosswind out there. It really was. He was affecting throws and stuff.
Speaking of the growth, I think you guys had about twice as many penalties as Buffalo. and then turnovers, I think, was 3-1 in their favor. So how do you guys grow from that, especially coming out here and being able to get that win?
You know, so many of those penalties, which we're not allowed to talk about. I mean, a pass interference penalty. I mean, was the guy pushing? Was the guy not pushing? I mean, there were calls that we made, and you know, I'm not going to complain about a call. I'm never going to. But a lot of that stuff's 50-50. And I mean, there was one situation where I know the coaches had thought somebody was wrong and took him out, and I immediately went back down and threw him back in because I watched the entire play. And in my opinion, I thought he was okay on the play. And every once in a while, I'll do that. But you know, you just play. As long as the officials are consistent, the players and the coaches will adjust to their consistency, whether it's in a positive or a negative manner. And then a good football team finds a way to win. So, you know, we found a way to win. So it's really not the thing that we talk about the most.
Coach, how does winning these close games like this, winning against Buffalo, winning against UMass, against Indiana, prepare you guys for the long stretch of the MAC?
I think it helps us. I mean, that whole thing of competing and not caring for each other and caring for your brother out there. And I can still remember one of the coaches with 2 minutes left or 3 minutes left, everybody off the bench and cheered for the defense. And I turned around, and I don't remember seeing anybody on the benches, and everybody's up, and they're yelling pass, and they're yelling run, and they're trying to give every advantage that they can to our defense out there. And I also turned around, and I remember the crowd that was still at the Doit was loud. That very last drive, they were extremely loud. And I know there's no doubt in my mind that helped us on that last drive get that stop.
Anything else, guys? All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.